Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Tableau. Um, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Julia Wood, and I am a fourth-year statistics student minoring in digital humanities at UCLA. I'm leading this workshop because I am a member of the UCLA Data Squad, which is a student-run data consulting and data literacy resource here on campus. We work within the library and alongside the Data Science Center. As one of our goals is data literacy, the Data Science Center, or DSC, puts on workshops teaching foundational coding skills in R, Python, to workshops focused on data ethics, and even workshops like this one focused on data-related softwares. So without further ado, welcome to Introduction to Tableau. And in this workshop, we will cover the basics as well as things that I wish I had known when I was first starting out. Okay, so you guys are all here because you want to create awesome data visualizations. So I just want to go over why visualizing your data is so important to every data project. First of all, data visualization is not only the final step of a data project, but a lot of times it is a necessary step in exploratory data analysis, aka EDA. EDA is the first step in any data project, and it just means taking the time to explore and understand your data. Secondly, visualizing your data allows you to find patterns like distribution shape and anomalies like outliers in a data set. These visual representations can then help you make decisions about what statistical tests are appropriate based on the data. Like you might not be able to use a test that assumes normality if your distribution is skewed. And lastly, visual aids are easier to digest than large blobs of text. So if you want everyone to understand and interact with your data project, you need to have appealing visualizations. So this is just one of my favorite examples about the amazingness of data visualization. So on the left, you'll see my attempts to schedule meetings over email, which is text heavy, and it takes a lot of glancing over to check if those times work for you. However, on the right, you'll see when to meet, which is a very simple idea of just being able to see everyone's availability on one calendar. But the simple visualization of time and date makes scheduling a whole lot easier. And now you'll see a hyper simplified overview of the process of a data project. So it starts with data cleaning, transitions to analysis and/or modeling, and ends up with data visualization. However, I just want to point out this is typically an iterative process, and visualization can occur in the cleaning to understand how many null values you have, or in the beginning of analysis to look at correlation between two variables. And this slide is just to emphasize that while visualization is often a smaller part of the overall project, it's the final presentation of a lot of hard work. So you just want them to be, as beautiful as possible to reflect all the things you've been doing behind the scenes to get to this last step. Okay, so there are so many data visualization softwares out there. Why are we focusing on Tableau? To put it simply, it's free, easy to learn, and there are so many resources for Tableau online. It's free to all college students, and Tableau Public is free to everyone. Tableau Public in particular is a great learning resource because you can see how everyone created their viz, and they also have viz of the day. So you can look at the viz of the day and then see what fields they put in certain positions to make the visualization that you're seeing. And the best part is it is accessible to anyone regardless of coding knowledge because it's all drag and drop functionality. And you can create interactive visualizations as well as embed your visualizations onto a website. If you publish them to Tableau Public, then you can just get the HTML code from Tableau Public and put it onto a website. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into Tableau. We got the master doc in the chat, which has the links to the data and everything you could need. Let me just do a new share. Okay, I'll share this screen. And then I'm gonna stop sharing real quick and pull up a new window of Tableau. So everyone just go ahead and open up Tableau on your end. Okay. So you'll see something like this or something like this. Either one works for this next step. Then you're gonna want to open up your Finder. So that's down here. And for a lot of you guys that just download it, it's gonna be in your downloads file. But for me, I put it into just this right here. So you just take it and drag and drop it straight into Tableau. You could close your Finder and you'll see this landing page. You could kind of check out the data, make sure it's been imported correctly. And let's go ahead and create our first visualization. So you'll see down here, this orange button prompting you to go to worksheet 1. So go ahead and click on that. And this is the setup of Tableau. So on this left-hand panel here, you will see all the column names of your data set. And there's like 4 different data types in Tableau. So there's a distinction between dimensions and measures. Dimensions are qualitative data and measures are quantitative data. So measures, when you drag them into view down here, we'll see measures. They have the numeric sign next to them, the hashtag. And these are going to be automatically aggregated when you drag them into Tableau. So a sum, and you could change the aggregate measure you want. And then up here we have dimensions, and these affect the granularity of your viz. So area name, for example, once I drag that into view, then it'll show me whatever we're looking at divided up by each area. So that's the difference between dimensions and measures. And then there's also a difference between continuous and discrete. So continuous are going to be green and discrete are going to be blue. And while all the dimensions right now are blue and all the measures right now are green, you can have all 4 combinations of these types. Okay, so let's set our intention for what we want this visualization to be. So let's go down here to the sheet 1, double click it, and let's name this sheet accidents over time by area name. Okay, so now we're going to look over here and we're going to realize that we don't have any column in our data set that is counting up the number of accidents. It's just each row is a different accident and there's no like counter. So thankfully we can perform calculations in Tableau. If you're familiar with Python or R, there's like a group by clause, and we could group it by area name, and then we could count how many accidents per each area. And I'll show you how to do that similar functionality in Tableau now. So DR number is the unique identifier for every single row in the data set. And it's what the police use to look up a certain traffic accident. So we'll go ahead and right click on DR number and go down to create and create calculated field. And you will see this window pop open. And over here, you'll see all the different types of functions available to you. And if you're curious, you're like, might want to try something out, you can search. So I know we want to count, and there is a function for it and it tells you what it does, which is great. So we're going to use count DR number, and name this calculation number of accidents. Yeah, and then we'll go ahead and say, okay. And you'll see this new data type this new column has come in, and it is green and it is numeric. So therefore it is a continuous measure. So yeah, now we have our number of accidents. Okay, so if we're making a visualization over time, we want time to be on the x-axis. So columns in Tableau world is the x-axis and rows is the y-axis. So because we want time, date on the x-axis, we're going to go ahead and take date occurred and just drag it over to columns. And by default, dates are treated as discrete, but I like to treat my dates as continuous in Tableau, and for this visualization to make it able to do a line. So we'll go down here, you right click it and go down to this year. There's 2 years, but these ones are discrete, and below the line, these ones are continuous. So click that year. So we have continuous year in columns, and now we're going to take our new field, number of accidents, and go ahead and drag that on up to rows. And mine is loading right now. But now you will see we have a visual representation of accidents over time in LA County. So they stayed steady from 2010 to 2014, and then they kind of increased 2016, 2017, 2018, and then started to decline again in 2019. So what I did just now was I went over and grabbed area name and dragged it into color over here. And then this affected the granularity of our viz. Now, instead of just one solid line for total accidents, we see about 20, 21 different lines denoting accidents in each area of LA, which is determined by how the LAPD breaks up areas in LA. I'm just gonna check the chat. Okay, and feel free to just interrupt me at any point and ask for questions. I'll stop at the end of each viz and always ask you guys if you have any questions. Okay, so we have this beautiful line graph, but why don't we make it a little bit fancier? So I want to retain the same information, but add something to it. So what we're going to do is duplicate this sheet. So you go down here to the sheet name and we'll right click it and go up to duplicate. So what I want to show you guys is how easy animation is in Tableau. So we've kind of seen this marks area, added granularity. We so far added a color dimension. Up here is the basics where you're going to be taking everything, columns and rows. But this pages box is where animation occurs. So I want to animate it over the years to see how accidents change.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julia. I think if you slow down just a minute, I got one question coming in the chat. Which variable is used for accidents? Could you go over that?
Yeah.
Accident. Yeah. Okay. They're the last two in the chat.
Perfect. Okay, so accidents was a field that we created. So how I created it was using DR number, right-clicking DR number, going to create calculated field, this window pops up. We use the function count, put it in parentheses, and your field name will always be in brackets. And then we named this number of accidents. And then you would click OK. And then you'll see it pop up down here with this little equal sign next to it, meaning that we created it. Okay, and then that field just went into rows, and you'll see that Tableau automatically aggregated it. Yeah, just by year. Okay, so then we right-clicked on this dashboard, we duplicated it, and now we're just on the same exact sheet, but 2. And this pages here is the focus of our animation, and we want to animate it by date. So we're going to take our date occurred and drag it into pages. And you'll see down here, an animation window has appeared, and it has a play button. And you'll see our visualization has changed. Now it's just showing 2010, and you can see this in the title. And when you press play, it'll change. So yeah, something that we need to do for this animation to be successful is change the marks type from automatic, click on it, and go down to circle. And then the next step we want to do is, this is the speed of your animation. So my computer sometimes takes a little bit slow to load, so I just help it out and put it on the slow speed. And then this show history box is really important. So let's go ahead and click on show history. So showing history just ensures that as time increases, we'll still see the previous data from the previous years. So we want to show history for all. And we want to show the trail of where these data points have been. And you'll see now we have a check mark next to show history. And if I press play, I'm going to pause it when it gets to 2012. You'll see it rendering. Maybe it's a little faster on your end. I hope it is. And yeah, you'll just see that progress all the way on through to when we have the most recent data for, which should be 2022. Yeah, thank you guys for helping out each other in the chat. That's great. Okay, so now that we have this animated graphic, I want to go ahead and show you guys how to change what we're seeing. So if we don't want to see just accidents per year, and instead we want to see a running total of accidents in each area, we can actually do that in Tableau. So we can go ahead, and because I just want to retain this sheet and make the change on a new fresh one, we'll go ahead and duplicate it again. Mine's going to be loading, and that's okay. But on this one, we want the running total. So it's going to change. We want to change this aggregation measure up here. So we'll go ahead and right-click number of accidents. Go down to quick table calculation and select running total. See, it's loading. and then go back up and right click it again. It's just a 2-step process to make this a running total. So we already did it in the quick table calculation, great. And then this compute using is really important. So instead of table across, we're gonna wanna use date occurred. So this is calculate the running total using date, doing it over time. So I click that date occurred, and you'll immediately see that now these are adding on to the previous totals that they had and going all the way up. Okay, so we have created not only a basic line graph in Tableau, but animated it and done a running total. At this point, please ask me any questions you may have. Alrighty. Okay, so let's start fresh. Oh,
Hey,
yes.
hi, Julia. Shreya here.
Hi, Shreya.
I just wanted to ask, like, can we have labels to this also? Can we see the total, like, for each of them somewhere?
Yes. So we can do that one of two ways.
Okay.
The easiest way, or I mean, they're both easy, but we can go up to analysis
Okay.
and you can just say show mark labels. And mine's gonna load, but then it'll automatically add the counts to them.
Okay.
But because
Yeah.
the dots are so close together, it won't show you everything, but it kind of gives you an idea of where everything is.
Okay.
And if for some reason you wanted to show everything, you can go to label and you can say allow labels to overlap other marks. And then you'll get a bunch of numbers all overlapping.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a way, like, if we just hover over those lines and we can see what's the sum total?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So then if you were to
Thanks.
post this on Tableau Public and someone was scrolling over it, this would also appear for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Julia, there's a question in the chat somebody had their Tableau froze, but can you say again which variable was used for the number of accidents? Is it count var? Oh, I think Julia froze. I'm sorry. Let's see, give her a moment, see if she comes back. Oh, there she is.
I just got kicked out, but I'm back. I don't know what happened. But yeah, I'm here. Okay. So sheet 4, we are going to do.
Julia, sorry, I missed this, but how did you filter the data by year? Like you have specified it's 2016. So did you filter it till 2016?
So yeah, what I actually did is I didn't filter it. I dragged date occurred into pages, which allows us to animate it. So basically what it's doing is behind the scenes, Tableau has like 10 different sheets all overlapped on top of each other. One of them's 2010, one of them's 2011, 2012. And then it's just when I press animate, it just goes through all these in like one continuous sheet. And right now it's just paused on 2016.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now for our bar graph, number of accidents by age. So in this instance, we want age to be along the x-axis. So we can go ahead and take age and drag it in 2 columns. But we'll see, because it is a measure, Tableau has automatically aggregated it, automatically computed a sum. So we want to change that. We can right click it, and instead of it being a measure, we can make it a dimension. So now we can see that we have all the different ages of the victims listed. And then we want to get, again, the number of accidents. So we can go ahead and drag number of accidents into rows. And the automatic marks type you'll see in this box, it's automatically a line. So we can change that to be a bar type. And the default size of the bars is thick and overlapping. So we can change this to be a smaller size by going into size and then moving the circle to the lower end. Okay. And then I kind of want to add the mark labels to this one as well. So we'll go up to analysis and show mark labels. And here we have our first bar graph in Tableau, but it's a bit interesting. So I want to open up the floor to you to ask you guys, what do you notice about this distribution of number of accidents by age? Anything that stands out to you at all?
There's some odd anomalies at certain ages.
Yes, and what do you mean by that?
Well, there's a general distribution, but then there's these random spikes way above what the norm is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like at 40, 45, 50. I also found that quite interesting. And I looked at the documentation by the LAPD to see if they had any record.
Could those be like outliers, Julia? Just a thought, I don't know. Like in the data set?
Yeah, I don't think they are by definition outliers. I think it is an inconsistency or in how the LAPD, it just reveals how the LAPD tracks age. So perhaps they, go to the scene of an accident and they don't know the victim's age, so they estimate. And they estimate a lot of times on these 5 number intervals, so 30, 35, 40. They didn't specify this in the data documentation, but that is my running hypothesis at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And does anyone notice anything else about this distribution that stands out to them?
It seems more skewed to one side. It isn't like a nice bell curve.
Yes, definitely. Right, skewed and spiky. I see in the chat.
Also, it's like with higher age, I mean, growing age, there are less number of accidents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, less people on the road. And
yeah,
that totally lines up. And then, yeah, I see a couple in the chat. Julie has said the peak at 100 is interesting and 100-year-olds getting into accidents. Yeah, so I also thought that this must be a way, this cannot be accurate considering the trend. the
And
trend
they
of
have
the
a
data.
they have a 10-year-old. Oh well, that's the victim, not the.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Wrong.
So I think this must be like an unknown kind of column. If they don't know the person's age, they might just put it down as 99. And I did see a comment in the chat about the one null. So you can go ahead and click on that one null and you can filter it. So this just added it to filters and excluded it. But yeah, in certain instances, you have more functionality with that. Like if you have, if it doesn't recognize certain geographical locations, you can go down there, click, and then it allows you to like access other columns to fill in the missing information. So say if you have like 30 values missing in the county column, or like 30 unknown values, you can go into that box and help it figure it out by state and country, and it'll work through some of those null values with you. Okay, but here is our bar graph for accidents by age. So let's go ahead now and create a map in Tableau. So we can go ahead and create a new worksheet. And Tableau loves latitude and longitude. So if we look at our data, we'll see that we have a location column. So I'm just going to drag that in here and say show me, just to see what the column looks like. Okay, so we'll see that it's parentheses, latitude, comma, longitude, parentheses. So in order for Tableau to work with this, they need to be in two separate fields. So if you're working in Tableau Desktop, we're going to go ahead and go to the data source. In Tableau Public, I will show you guys how to do it on your end in 2 seconds. Okay, so we can go to this data source page and scroll over to location. And in this little arrow in the right-hand corner of location, you'll see it says split. So, and then you just say update now. Every time you do something, you just have to update it and then scroll back over to location. So you'll see the split function has worked really well for us. It's taken away the parentheses and split on the column and removed white space. So the only problem is it is still interpreting this column as a string. It says equals ABC equals ABC. So we want to change the data type of these columns. So we can go ahead and click on the ABC and then say number decimal. This one too, number decimal. And then one more time, we'll keep it at number decimal, go down to geographic role, and select latitude. The first entry is latitude. And then the second one, again, down to geographic role and select longitude. And then to be extra clear, we want to name these new columns in our data set. And we'll name this one latitude. We'll name this one longitude. Okay. And we can say update now, and we can just look at it. And it looks good. So we can go back to sheet 5. And we can remove this location because we were just investigating, looking at what the column looked like. So we'll say, and then we can name this sheet. So we'll say map of accidents in LA. And the great thing about Tableau is it's drag and drop, but it's also like double click. Sometimes it just recognizes fields and knows exactly what to do with them. So let's go ahead and double click latitude and double click longitude. So this will automatically create a map because every single row has a latitude and longitude point. It'll put a point for every single row in the data set, like where the accident happened. So I am on just, the UCLA campus Wi-Fi, and Tableau is struggling to load a bit. So if anyone has followed this step, longitude is in columns and latitude is in rows, I would love it if someone else wanted to, share their screen and show us what their map look like so other people can compare.
Are you going to cover what the people using Tableau Public have to do to split the column?
Yes, good reminder. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so for Tableau Public users, and you can also do this in Tableau Desktop, but it's just easier to see when you go to that data source page and you can divide it. But for Tableau Public users, you right-click location, and you go down to transform, and there's split. So now we see, it's like the same thing we saw on the data source page, but now we have these two distinct splits, and you would need to name them. Oh, didn't need that to go there. Right click, rename. This will be, lat, and the next one will be long. And then we also need to change the data type. You'll see it's still a discrete string so we'll change data type to number decimal for each of them. For lat and long, change data type, number decimal. And then we'll have to click them again, and geographic role, latitude, and geographic role, longitude. Yeah. Okay. So at this point, if anyone has a map, they can go ahead and share their screen, and I will tell you some further steps to do, and everyone can kind of follow along with your screen in real time. Thank you, Elliot. Okay.
Sure. I
So-
did, just before you jump in, I did have one initially that was out off the coast of Africa. There was like a null value 00 that I just right clicked and excluded it, and then it zoomed into this bit, just so you know.
Yes, so that is good reference because I'm sure everyone will have a same experience. It's good to go ahead and just remove that point, as unfortunately it's not going to show up when we're focusing on LA. So if Elliot, if you could go into right below where you titled it map, you will see, it's right below the rows, like the columns, rows, map. So it's on the map. Yeah. And then if you go right below that, you'll see a magnifying glass. So this is really helpful. You can go ahead and click on that, and you could search Los Angeles, and then Tableau would automatically zoom in to Los Angeles for you. So this is great if you post it to Tableau Public, and someone could go ahead and use this search bar and find different places. Okay, so you can go ahead and use the plus or minus button to get it to your liking. And then so you'll see the plus, the minus, the pin, and then the arrow. So the arrow, this is something I don't quite understand why Tableau, its default, you'll see is the check mark box. And that is like highlight this area. But what I like to do with my map is use my mouse to drag and move around. So instead of choosing that dash box, you're just going to want to choose the one to the right left of it, and that's pan. So this will, if you click that, then now if you use your mouse to drag, you'll be able to move across LA in whatever way you like. Yeah. So over here, we're in East LA, maybe closer to downtown. And while this map is great, there's a lot of overlapping points and information that is a bit hidden to us just behind all these points. So let's create a little bit better map. So how we can do this is we can go up into, on the very top bar, you have Tableau Book 1. And then below you have File, Data, Worksheet, Dashboard, Story, Analysis. And then you'll see Map right next to Analysis. Yes. Okay, so this map dropdown lets us change the view of our map. So if we go to Background Maps, we'll see it's automatically on light mode. But why don't you go ahead and select Streets? Because after all, this is a map of accidents, so it would be helpful if we could see, the streets of LA. Yeah, so this is the background that I like to use. It gives people a better sense of LA and where everything is located. Okay, so I think this is a good start for our first map. So let's go ahead and leave this one as is. And we have 15 minutes left, so let's bring in a new data set. So I'll start sharing again to show people how to bring the new data set in. But thank you so much, Elliot.
Sure.
Okay. So, now mine's just rendering. We see the point in the middle of the ocean, and then we see all the points in LA. But yeah, so you guys should have downloaded the LAPD division's shape file, which is in that master doc I sent you. So let's go to our data source page. And we want to add a new data source. So we're going to go up to this button, Add. And it gives us a bunch of options, but we want to add a spatial file in specific this time. So let's go ahead and click Spatial File. And mine is automatically opened up to the first spatial file on my computer. And it is this LAPD divisions.shp, but just navigate to it wherever it is in your Finder. And go ahead and open. And now you'll see it's this now here in orange, and it's also below here in Files. So taking this Files, we're going to click it and drag it into here, and you'll see this orange line come up and just drop it off in there. And now it wants us to join it, but it doesn't know how to join. So we have to go down here and select the columns that we want to join on. So for traffic collisions data, we want the area ID. And in the LAPD_divisions, we want PREC. You can say update now, but now it has joined this data with our existing data. Okay, by a show of thumbs up, who is here and has these two data sets in a relationship with area ID and PREC? Just give me a thumbs up in the Zoom. I'm going to scroll through, see, thank you. I see a couple thumbs up, but I don't see too many. So feel free, to put in the chat or ask me if you need any help. But if not, I'm going to continue moving on. Okay, so we've created a relationship between these two files. So we can create a new sheet. And now you'll see in our left-hand pane that if you scroll up, now we have this LAPD divisions, and we have all the column names in there, as well as all the column names in our existing data set. Okay. So now we are going to want to bring this geometry into view. You can double click it, you can drag it and drop it just into this general area. So it's time again for me to ask a willing participant who is brave and wants to share their screen, and I can just speak you through kind of what the next steps are, because mine is having trouble loading. You can go ahead and just take the screen.
I think I'm sharing. Are you able to see?
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Who was that? Nora. Thank you, Nora. Okay, so hopefully your screen will look like this as well. So let's go ahead, and just make this our pretty map. So we do that with the map in the top panel and background maps, and let's do streets as it's relevant to this data. And right now it just gives us the LAPD divisions. So if we're interested in what areas the LAPD covers, it's here, but we're interested in kind of like the number of accidents, where traffic accidents are happening in LA. So how we can visualize this is we could do the number of accidents by color. So yep, looks like Nora's already got the right idea, going down to number of accidents and selecting it and dragging it up into the marks pane into color. Okay, so this is just giving us the total amount of accidents, which you will all see on your end, and it's totally normal. So what we need to do is right click on number of accidents. Oh, actually, no, you can just leave that there. You don't need to right click anything. Instead, we need to, create some granularity. So on the left-hand pane, we'll see area name, and we can take area name, its address, area ID, and then area name, and we can drag that into detail in marks. It's right below color. And voila. So now we see where accidents most occur in LA. But we see all these different areas, but we don't know what they're called. So it would be nice if we had a title for each area. So we can also go ahead and drag area name also into label. Okay, so now we see, Topanga, West Valley, West LA, and it's 77th Street that since 2010 has had the most accidents. Okay, so this is a good place to end this visualization, but we want to do a little more, so we'll duplicate it and try something else. So if you go down to sheet 6, right click, duplicate, perfect. You'll see this new screen. So remember how we did accidents over time by area name, and we calculated the running total way back when? Well, we can actually do something similarly now. So the first step is animation. So how we do animation is what's the box called that we like to, that's important to animation?
Pages.
Yes, pages. So I want to animate this over time. So we can take the date occurred and drag it into pages. Perfect. Okay. And if you were to press play on this, could we just see it, run through how it's acting right now?
Is that how it's supposed to run?
Yeah. I was just, curious, and I'm sure people on their end want to do it as well, just to see what it looks like. So it's changing over time, but we can't get that much information because each new year is a new page. It's refreshing. So instead, let's do a running total over time, like we did way back when with the line graph. We're going to do it again for this map visualization. So the last time the aggregation of the number of accidents was in rows, but this time we see the aggregation of number of accidents is in color because that's how we made this viz different. So we can go ahead and right click that pill there, yes, in your marks, and go down to quick table calculation, select running total, and then go ahead and right click it again and say, go down to compute using and do date occurred. Okay, and my last step for this viz to make it different from the last one is I want to change the color. So let's go into color. Yes, that box right there. And we can say edit colors. And instead of palette automatic, you can click on there and we'll see a bunch of different options. So feel free, Nora, to choose whatever you like. In the past, I've chosen red because it's accidents, but orange, works just fine too. Anything you think conveys your message. Okay. So now if we go ahead and restart the animation over by dragging the circle, oh yeah, or going back in time, either works. And you'll see that as she goes back from 2022 to 2010, it obviously gets lighter, but going forward, it just gets darker and darker over time, giving us a better sense of accidents in LA. Okay, I'm just gonna check the chat real quick. See if anyone, okay, everyone seems to be doing good and following along. Okay, so yes, this is perfect. The last thing that we're going to do today is create a dashboard. So all of these so far have been worksheets, and a dashboard is right next to where we create a new worksheet in the bottom row. The middle one is actually new dashboard. So we can go ahead and click that. So I want to do a map with a line graph next to it, so we can kind of see, we can have two ways to present the same information. So it's the same drag and drop functionality. So Nora, may you please drag sheet 6, number 2 into view. Perfect. And then I think your sheet 1, number 3 is going to be the running totals. And yeah, you can go ahead and put that on the bottom half is where Oh, this one, that actually looks nice too. You can leave it there, but you can always move them around.
Sorry, I'll put on the bottom.
Yeah. And the last thing to do is to make sure that these sheets interact with each other. So when you click one thing in one viz, it'll filter it out and do it in the second viz. So how we do that is if you click on this sheet, yeah, so she clicked on accidents, and in the right-hand corner of this, you'll see an X, you'll see like a send, and you'll see a funnel. So yeah, go ahead and click that funnel to say use as filter, and do the same thing for the map visualization. Perfect. So now if you were to click on a certain area on the map, it'll filter it out in the other visualization as well. And if you were to run the animation, it would do both things at the same time, the map and the line graph. Okay, and that is all the visualizations I had planned for today. I hope that was a comprehensive overview to Tableau. Feel free to ask me any questions. And we also have a feedback form that if you could please fill out before you leave, we'll send it in the chat. That would be great. Let me get that feedback form for you guys.
Yes, thank you very much, Julia. I have the link if you don't, if it's the same from the last time.
It is, it
Okay.
is. Would you mind sending it in the chat?
Yes, will do.
Thank you.
And we'll add this recording to our YouTube channel. There's a previous edition of this that Julia did a few weeks back also in there. So yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you for adjusting an hour forward for this workshop. Appreciate it.
Yes. Special thanks to Elliot and Nora for helping out.
Yeah, amen. Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.